Meantime, I will kick things off. Welcome, one and all, to the Weeklies 2023. This is week 3. The puzzle brought to us by Panic is Ring Enlargement.
You're welcome.
And
maybe also sorry.
You're welcome / I'm sorry / however you feel about the puzzle.
Sounds about right.
All right, so this puzzle turned up pretty early. So what was your thought process behind actually making the puzzle itself, Panic?
What if the ring got larger?
Yeah. So I think it was a while ago that this was designed. I think we were talking about area puzzles and how there weren't enough area puzzles where there was like both a big input and a big output. So I put this together and it seemed really funny at the time.
Was that actually the case, or was it just haha rings?
I mean, I'm trying to reconstruct. I don't. It's very. I don't exactly know what was going through my head when I made this, but everyone seems to agree it was funny.
It is somewhat funny. I do remember during the week at some point, a couple of the Cycles mains like Grimmy and Biggie and such were talking about how we didn't have too many puzzles that were we didn't have too many Cycles puzzles with a big input and a big output. And rate was considered for this metric, but it ended up being a little too intense.
To quote Panic on February 8th, for some reason this puzzle idea popped into my mind when I read Spiritual Shampoo's comment about bigger than EJS. So it is obviously not bigger than EJS.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks Spiritual Shampoo for inspiring this puzzle.
And a comment by Zorflex, why do I like this so much?
That usually does it.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to find metrics for this puzzle that weren't
Let me just
and
send this screenshot.
No, this is indeed a very funny puzzle.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
what if the ring got bigger?
Yeah, right.
Alright.
And like, so area was
Also,
kind of the obvious one.
There's an obvious progression from this puzzle where you just make the next one.
Oh yeah. If somebody wants to do that, feel free.
Anyways,
definitely,
I gotta hop off.
All right, see you, Bist.
Y'all enjoy your stream. See ya.
Catch you, Bist. Actually, question I have for chat: should we do cost or area first?
I would be for cost.
Personally, I think cost is.
Yeah, my guess is that people are going to prefer cost first. Whichever you want. I'm not particularly opinionated, though I think there's more interest in cost this week, so I think we'll start with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's definitely way more submissions for cost.
Interesting, because every submission requires that it have finite area. It's very easy to build something that has a waste chain.
Yeah, one of the reasons we picked that particular metric was it actually wasn't too bad to make a finite area cost solve. And also, it didn't have giant waste chains that would be annoying for people to deal with, both like when making the solve and also like streaming it. So,
all right, just figuring out where we start. We can start with Steven. That's an easy start.
Oh, good. Steven ended up submitting. What is the title? What is the solution?
The Burlows was out of stock.
there's something overlapping the name in the stream, like a small black rectangle. I don't know what that is.
What is that
Maybe
black rectangle?
Is it like some kind of capture that's gone wrong?
I'm gonna get rid of this capture, and I'm gonna hope it doesn't crash the stream. I got rid of it. Didn't help. That was weird. Oh wait, there's another one like that. Okay. There we go. All right. Back to Steven. I don't know why. I do not know why that was there.
It might be related to the window capture, display capture stuff.
It kind of was. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yes.
Oh my gosh, there's an extra little 6 atoms in the middle.
It doesn't actually do anything productive at all. It just, other than, I guess, blocking the input.
Yeah, it keeps the input from spawning for 2 periods.
Yeah.
And I get that they had to put a Brillo wheel there would have made this a little bit easier, as if easy was the goal. It's just meanier.
I think that R-mate that blocks the input, I think that's a makeshift Burlo, basically.
I just thought of something that like would be a very silly solve for this. So you make a machine that
Other than this.
makes that algorithmically makes progressively larger rings, and then once it finally makes one that is big enough that you can make all 6 outputs out of it, it breaks that one down into all the outputs.
Do those...
That is my
How
idea
it
for a
outputs
student
the 2
solve
half
of this.
wheels.
Those biomes do like one productive thing, and then go on an odyssey down here, and there's like 3 or 4 of them on each. It just it was completely unnecessary.
Period 4, of course.
Period. Yeah, all in period 4.
So what it's doing is it's removing 3 atoms from every ring and then putting half rings off to the right to do piston pivot means. And then the gradually assembled ring is actually forced to be close to the output because it has to do conditionals.
Ah, yes.
Also, yeah, it's taking 7 periods before it grabs a new input, which is funny.
Indeed. Yeah, you can see.
Which is why the
on
biarms
screen-
need the Odyssey.
Oh, to like get them on the right period. Yeah, you can see on the stream there's 2/21 P next to the stats up there, so you can see all the. How would you describe that? What does that mean?
Describe.
Every
The
time
output
through-
rate, not the input rate, right? Like, if you are
Right,
taking an input every 7 tape loops, then you're making an output every 10.5 tape loops because of the 2-to-3 ratio, and so it would be 2/21p.
Mm-hmm. It's like the number of outputs that are made per tape loop on average, I guess is what that number is.
I mean, yeah, I always just knew it as products per tape loop.
Yeah, but any individual tape loop is not going to output 2/21 of a product. It
Oh,
requires
this is the this is the problem
Pretty safe.
instructions mains have. They just kind of have to hijack the meaning of the word P to get this across.
Mm.
All right. Moving on. Not that one. That one. By Transcendental Guy. Welcome back to the Weeklies. Now, my understanding is this one doesn't have a particularly insane rate or anything. It's just, it uses conditional logic to solve the ring enlargement problem without too much pain involved.
Oh yeah, 1 atom at a time.
Yeah, literally just 1 atom at a time.
Yeah, that's cool. 1/18 P.
And it'll work identically on the second output, just it will not have made the output at the halfway point.
Right.
So yeah, because I mean, the ratio isn't actually that bad because of the number of atoms. It's 12 to 18, which is 2 to 3 basically, 2 outputs to 3 inputs. So something like this works out okay. It makes the, I don't know, I hope it made the metrics not too painfully annoying.
Yeah, the bigger problem I feel like than the ratio is the geometry, because you have the input is in these sticks of 2, you can break it down into easily, and the output you can make it out of sticks of 2, but it's not the same uniform shape in terms of 2s. You'd prefer to make it out of units of 3. So dealing with that is
and
kind
when you can get a length 2 arm to disassemble the input nicely, you need a length 3 arm to assemble the output nicely, so cost doesn't really get to pick either of them.
right.
Alright. We will move on from that. So, starting at 17th place, we have Jamu with his solution Google en passant. Oh, and this is an area
Holy
solve.
hell.
Alright, maybe I should save this for area. Sorry about that.
A chess meme?
Okay. Next up is, I believe, Gecko, with also an area solve. Alright, this is definitely not an area solve. It is 40G.
That's an area solve.
Alright, now that we're at 40G, I'm pretty sure everything else is cost.
Okay, so everyone else who submitted for cost got the min primary, which is 40. There is no way of getting under 40. For those of you playing along at home.
Right, because you have to divide it.
That is rather obvious.
Alright, the notes just say, no, there's no system to this. I think it was just solve the puzzle at min.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad way of going about it. Kind of latching the overly bent kind of intermediate onto your output and then just fixing it up later.
Yeah, I mean, so
Kind of
one
brickish.
challenge with these cost solves is keeping the input suppressed so you can move stuff over it. This one, the way it moves the first input off immediately causes the next one to spawn, but then it's able to sort of move that one out of the way. You can see, it sort of has to juggle around the input there to keep it suppressed, and then use the output that it's building to suppress the input. So it's maybe a little bit more instructions used on input suppression than are strictly necessary, but it definitely looks, it's like it's swinging around these big chunks instead of breaking it off into smaller chunks, which looks kind of cool, I guess. Now we
Did
just have the
Find You
one
not
atom
team
left.
up with Rebix this week?
I didn't hear anything about them teaming up this week. They did submit separately.
Okay.
So, no, yeah, no. I'm gonna... Yeah, so my guess was no.
Because, yeah, I trust Rebix to be a kind of a tryhard on cost puzzles, and I wasn't sure if that was this team's effort, it was just all Rebix, or if it's Find Your on his own now.
No, you will be seeing Rebix's name pop up later. Alright. I guess I'll just read out the secondary from now on. We're all at 40G. So, this is at 580 instructions. Next up in 14th place at 491 instructions, we have Mad Monkey. Which is Mad Master and Mad Monkey's combined efforts.
I guess another thing to point out is the previous solve by Finder and this one both are 2P, so there are 2 outputs made per tape loop, which means it's pulling 3 inputs. That's kind of the easiest way to deal with the ratio, is just script it all the way out to 2 outputs made from 3 inputs.
Yeah, no conditional logic whatsoever needed. You just solve the puzzle, basically, at min cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 2P point is when there will be the exact same atoms on the board as the way it started, if you've done it at finite area correctly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can see half the input. Like, it's very obvious with this one. It's because it leaves half the input where the input was, and then picks it up and builds a third of the output. And now this input is going to be the remaining 2/3.
and we see the final two joined in, and there you go. So this one, I guess, a point of difference from Feindeer's Solve is that this one does all the debonding before it bothers bonding anything on to the big ring. And that seems to speed it up a bit. Just because you're not having to debond after the fact, I guess. So everything's a lot more straightforwardly kind of placed out. So it's kind of more organized. But it's a moot point because the next solve is not 2p. It is way below 2p. In 13th place at 106 instructions, we have Mr. Puzzle.
Wow, that's 13th.
Yeah, that's 13th. That's 13th.
The heck? How is... So, there's 12 more solves that have less instructions than this.
Correct. Yeah, that was
So
the last
1/3
big
P
one.
means that the input is half consumed by one tape loop.
Yes, that is what that means. So half an input gets consumed every tape loop, so...
Right, and 2/3 P would be a full input gets consumed every tape loop.
So I think 1/3 P was a bit of a natural idea for a lot of people to fall on, because you can just do an output conditional at the end of every tape loop, and you only have to worry about whether you got a full input to go through or half an input to go through. And that means you can just use the same debonding method for both, because the shape is kind of symmetrical like that.
It also prevents needing conditions around which part of a segment of the big ring you're in, because you'll always be on the same part of the segment if you're going 1/3 P.
Exactly. So I guess this is the most basic outline of what a 1/3 P solve will do. I think we will be seeing more 1/3 Ps as we go along, so it'll be interesting to see what they do differently to this, because this because I guess at this point we just kind of have to look into the specifics of what exactly is being debonded and how. So this one's taking a very... Sorry. I can hear someone talking.
I was just going to say, I definitely made ghost atom GIFs to understand my solution, and now I'm spoiled because I don't understand any if there's not a ghost atom GIF.
I'll look forward to sending people your ghost atom GIF. I couldn't get my head around the ghost atom GIF, to be honest. But...
Really? Okay. For me, it was like, okay, this makes sure that every instruction has a purpose.
For me, it was like, this is worse. I'm just not I just don't do these kind of conditionals. I just suck at them.
Yeah, I think the 1/3 P kind of makes sense though, because there's kind of three cases in terms of if you're thinking about the output in terms of twos, there's three cases for how to bond a 2 onto the growing output. And once you've bonded 3 of the 2s onto the growing output, it's kind of like back in the same case again. So there's not too much in terms of ghost atoms that you have to deal with, which is, I think, kind of the advantage of the 1/3 P.
So I guess looking at the debonding method, it breaks off 2, and then it breaks off a single atom, and then breaks off 3 at a time. I don't know. I don't mind that idea.
Yeah, I guess 6 is really the number, because 1/6, if you look at it in the product, that's like a uniform part of the product. You can break the product down into 3 pieces of 6 that are the same shape, and the input you can break it into I guess it's 2 pieces of 6. Am I counting that right?
Yeah.
2 pieces of 6.
Yeah.
So 6 is kind of the number you get when you look at the smallest uniform piece of both the input and the output, which leads to 1/3 P.
All right. That's a good point to move on, I think. So in 12th place, Moving down 3 instructions, we get Cuckoo 52, also at 1/3 P. And then remember, Callie Races asked earlier if we will see a different what do you call it? A different how am I forgetting the word?
Layout?
Layout. How did I forget that? Oh my god. Yeah, wonder if we will see a different layout or if this is going to be the canon layout for Min Cost. Because this is the only full access layout, I think.
Agree, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very immediately obvious why this was probably the one that people thought of first.
Yeah, the stupid 120-degree angle parts can't go next to each other. So you have to have them with a glyph in between them, and every glyph you have is 2 atoms wide, so it means that they are opposites. Little ring, big ring, bonder, debonder on top of bottom.
And since both the input and output are like have reflection symmetry, there's really just only one layout.
So I guess point difference from the last one is that this breaks off all its atoms 2 at a time. And just slaps them on as pairs depending on what section of the ring it is. It's not too conditionally, as Panic said earlier, with this 1/3 P setup. It's kind of not that hard to wrap your head around what's being ghost grabbed and what's actually being grabbed and stuff.
Right. You notice
it's also pretty quick. Like the cycle count of 1800 makes me a little jealous.
Yeah.
Rebix doesn't think any other layouts are even possible to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Because it seems like the only way... I mean, you could have an indirect bonder or debonder. Maybe.
I was imagining like a half-access bonder of some sort.
I mean, yeah, if you're only going to break off 2s, then you never need full access, but you would want it to be not... Like, if it is in line with the arm in any way, then that completely ruins your ability to...
Actually, I think the angle of the bonds that you need might ruin the idea. Because I don't think it's the access that ruins it. I think the part that would ruin it is that if you have a bonder at that angle, then, like, yeah, that's a weird thing to bond. Like, how are you going to get, like, a 2-atom stick onto that? Like, how are you going to put it there? Yeah, so that's a bit... That's pretty sizable roadblock, and this is just as bad, if not worse. Actually, that's not as bad. Actually, no. No, that one's fine when you're getting that bond on, but if you want to get, like, that bond on, then you go, like... I don't know. That seems possible, actually. It doesn't seem...
low instruction scaffolding.
Yeah, it's the FGI, but with the constraint that you can't use this layout.
Shoutouts to Panic when building the Potent Potables cost solve and the only one to do it the hard way.
Oh, man. I thought that's just what all the cost mains are doing all the time. I was like, wow, I have so much respect for these individuals.
I just wanted to be like the
hard way all the time. Oh, wait.
Okay, in 11th place, dropping down 2 instructions, we have Brother Mojo. Quick and easy 1/3 P V1.1.
This is doing 2s.
This is doing 2s as well.
And it keeps the input suppressed using just the input. And that's the conditional for the output. Then that's unifying the half-consumed or new input cases. I don't know what that's doing.
It does its output conditional at a... I don't know. It kind of goes about it in a funny way.
Yeah.
It makes sense there when you're actually outputting it, but...
Yeah, it seems like a long distance to move to the output and then go back if it didn't output. Oh yeah, it needs to make the last bond.
Right, yeah, the last bond. Other than that, it's the same basic idea of the two atom just snipping it off in two atom bricks, slapping it onto the ring, and the ring shape is very symmetrical, so it looks very similar to the other solves. Alright. Other than that, I think that could be a good point to move on. Just because some of these solves will look pretty similar, so I might pick up the pace a bit here. Next up is Ebenov. Avoid some avoiding. Coming in at exactly 100 instructions. This one actually comes with some notes.
Yeah.
The avoiding avoided refers to that it's possible to break down the small ring 4242, but that requires a debonder avoidance that swings into the bonder sector and causes more shuffling work than it saves. While a good bit improved from the first attempt at 1/3 P, there's probably still a handful of instruction saves around. For example, I'm not quite sure the pair ordering makes the best use of the one-time big ring doesn't suppress small ring. Also looking forward if more crazy stuff like 1/6 P or 1/9 P or half access stuff is possible.
Yeah, we shall see. Yeah, this one seems like it's maybe saving a little bit of instructions on the output stuff, but hard to tell.
Yeah, this saves literally one instruction from the previous one, so I'll be surprised if I'm going to be able to spot what that one instruction is exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Same general
If it's
idea.
only one instruction, it has to be pivot counting.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point. It has to be a pivot somewhere. And the last one did have a fair amount of pivoting towards the output, so maybe that's a good place for it to be. So maybe it is that last bond.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it means it must move around the ring less or something? Because to have one pivot out of place means that there's like a rotation of one between it and the previous solve, sort of. Like the amount that it rotates things is one less, so like it must have been rotated one less to begin with. I don't know. Or different build order, yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, that's true. Like the way that things are bonded onto the output. Because like when you're building in twos, there's like 3 different cases that you have, and which case you start with affects which case you end with, which affects where the last bond goes.
Right. So the basic way of putting it is that when you're building with 2 atom rings, there are 3 places you can start. You can start at like there, or there. And I think that matters, because it'll affect which is your last bond.
Right.
So being able to figure out which is the most convenient place to start / end, I think could be fairly important here.
Mm-hmm.
Team Fiesta Land found build order was quite consequential. Yeah. Yeah, you do, because it'll affect how you output and how it ends and how awkward everything is at that point. Also, I think it just slightly affects your conditionals in general. It's very difficult to figure out which of the 3 is going to be the best one for you without playing around with all 3, I think. Shout out to people who played with all 3.
Yeah, the suppression, because how the output overlaps the input.
Yeah, at my P, there was only one possible build order that would allow input suppression.
Right. Which was actually kind of annoying. I had an idea for something cool for this solution, but it didn't seem to work out because it would cause the input to get spawned and then ruin everything to debond like that. So I did make a solve, but I didn't submit it because it wasn't that interesting.
All right. And with that, we shall move on. We are into the top 10 now. In ninth place, we drop down another one instruction to Bambi. Also 1/3 P.
So this one's building from the other side, it looks like? Oh no, it's just gonna grab that one and move it again. Ah yes, the off-center Catelli.
Off-center Critelli. What is this?
Oh yeah, so this one, it ends up in a place where it has to pull this extra input, rather than the output under construction suppressing the input.
Right, so this one, fair amount of wiggling at the end, but the half input kind of blocks the rest of the input region nicely. So it ends up working out okay. Or at least well enough. Yeah, same output conditional as Brother Mojo's. Yeah. Build order also affects suppression a lot, yeah. And significantly affects how much you need to manage the building output. Alright, we'll watch it do one more output and then we'll move on. Kind of interesting, Mr. Puzzle Solve was the only one that doesn't do this 2-2-2 idea. In 8th place, now we're starting to get a bit more funky with our P's. At 96 instructions, we have Team Shadow Poo with a 1/9 P solve.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So buckle up. So this is only gonna get through 2 atoms per Tate loop.
Right, so where the previous solutions have done 3 pairs, usually, or at least 6 atoms, this one will do 2 atoms, because it's 1/3 of 1/3, that's 1/9. The issue with that is that, as we were talking about before, there are 3 different states that the output in progress can be in. So you have to handle all 3 of those cases using conditional logic. Which basically means it has to detect which state it was in last time and then move it into the right place so that you can bond the next pair onto the end, because there's like one bond that happens at a 120 degree angle, and then 2 bonds that happen at a straight angle, I think. I guess depending on how you break it down.
I guess the annoying part of having to program something like this is figuring out, like, being able to conditionally figure out whether the bond you want to make is a 120-degree bond or a straight bond.
Mm-hmm.
See, because the only way to really do that is by, like, subtly placing the partial output at a different area depending on what point it's at and its own bond configuration, I guess.
Right.
Oh yeah, I was just describing that in chat to Howard Jasper. Like, you don't need stick walking. You could also just put stuff in different locations depending on which bond needs to be made.
Yeah, it is kind of annoying to do that, but that is an option, and that's pretty much what this does, I think.
That's what I did the first time, and then I determined that stick walking was actually more instruction efficient.
The hard part is figuring out how to place it subtly different, I guess. Because
Well, and to reduce instructions, like so that all that shuffling ends up as fewer instructions than just coding it out 3 times to get the 1/3 P.
I'm going to confess I never made a solution that had a different P than the P I ended up with, so I don't know how it compares to a hypothetical if I made a 1/3 P or something.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing them start at 106 or whatever it was had me a little worried.
Alright. I have finished the thing.
Nice.
Nice. If I were you, I would submit it to Showcase, and then I'll just re-download the showcases before I do them.
And yeah, when you have the lower P values like this, the cycle counts become really high. This is a cheat engine mandatory puzzle.
Yeah, I'm just gonna...
Or just do the whole thing in OM clone.
True. I didn't ever use on clone, but I should start.
Yeah,
when
playtesting this puzzle was actually the first time I used it. It's pretty nice.
I've still never used it. I don't know. I guess I like inconvenience. I'm gonna continue to be a holdout. I don't know.
Vanilla game only.
Yeah.
Oh, but you use Figits to Cube, right?
No.
Got it. Okay. Masochism continues.
So, can I actually just throw this in here? This should be the correct one.
It's not even informative. I just decided to throw an elephant mode just because it looks funny.
It looks efficient when you have it running so fast.
I like how the instruction tree, you can just see brief flashes of where it's at.
Wait, so if I just... it's letting me submit this normally? I don't know.
It is, but like, it won't. I would just submit it as a showcase if I were you. But...
if it's letting you submit it normally, that's weird. It should reject. It might be that the tab is still open from before it was time, and it should just reject it if you try to submit it on the server side.
Oh yeah, okay. It did reject it.
Genius42 pointing out cheat engine is for cheats. I think there's some nod.
Play Opus Magnum at 50% speed so you can get those tighter racing lines.
Wasn't it 40%
the Riolu meme in 2023.
I mean, I guess I can tell you all when it would come up, and then you can pull it up then.
Didn't you make an area solve?
Yes.
Okay. Alright. With that, we will move on. In 7th place, I don't think this will be too much of a surprise to her, but it's Team 42 at 93 instructions. Now have a look.
The 221p cost solve.
Have a look at that P count.
I was amused that Steven had the same P count with the tracked meme.
Yeah.
Which is why I was saying I thought I would be the only one at my P, but it's not even the only one so far.
That's also why you were so quick to pick up on it, because you're like, wait, that's what I did.
Yeah, I was just quiet enough about it, I hope.
Nah, you were.
But yeah, it grabs 2 atoms per tape loop most of the time, but it misses on one of the 7 tape loops. So it takes 7 loops to complete an input, and then it gobbles it up and does stick walking conditionals like it was 1/9 P to be able to assemble everything.
One question I have is that, so there's that one loop where it just does a single D bond and nothing else. How does it differentiate between whether that bond is there or not to figure out whether it should be like doing anything extra with it?
It pulls it from a specific atom that moves the ring, except for in the only one debond has been made case, because it's either a connected object or it has two pieces that can break off.
All right. Oh, so it's just like if the bond's not there, it'll break off, and other stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. This one only ever uses the input to be to suppress the input, but it has to make sure that the output ring doesn't crash into it. I was enjoying the process of working on this, but I was definitely tunnel visioned on this approach and this approach only, and I didn't want to give it too many other things.
I'm honestly glad this exists, even if it didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of the role I would like to have in Weeklies. Win, lose, I'm just glad that what I made exists.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. I think especially this particular category had a lot of solutions that looked pretty similar, and this one was a exceptional one.
Yeah, I think it was needed for this week, because I'll let you know now, all the other solves are 1/3 P.
Literally all of them are 1/3. Okay.
Yep.
Well, sad that we didn't beat the kind of quote unquote easy way. We did the hard way, the way that I wanted to do it.
So, Rebix in chat had the same reaction I did when I saw the GIF, just for the record. I'm like, this is cool. It's still confusing as shit, though. I will read the notes, though, just to try and help people out. The algorithm is technically 2/21p, but all this means is that it takes 7 loops to consume an input. One loop gets 0 atoms, the other 6 all get 2. So it actually bears a surprising resemblance to the 19p solve we just saw. Things work. The easiest way to show how is with the IMGA link above. Yeah, and the IMGA link is in chat for anyone curious. I am pretty sure that 2/21 is not a quote-unquote normal number here, and that this algorithm will be unusual, but whether that makes it ahead or behind the curve, I have no idea. My only other idea is based on GI lamplight gas, where 2 inputs go in a cycle around the arm, but I don't see how to handle the ratio in that case. I think Random Guess makes a pretty good point in chat. It makes sense that 1/3 beats 1/9, because each tape loop still has to deal with all 3 cases for the salt pair.
This is reminding me of that one time. Yeah, it was an area instructions puzzle. I don't know if it was a tournament or weeklies, but I remember that I had an algorithm that literally nobody else had.
I remember that. That was quintessential Catalyst from the weeklies.
Yeah, it was.
Were you there for the tournament AI puzzle?
Was that this tournament?
No, it was Best's tournament last year.
That was the conditional waste handling.
That was the conditional waste handling. That was not. I'll be honest. That was not my favorite AI puzzle.
Zorflax, you and I both really had salt after the results stream. We did the hardest possible thing and got the lowest possible ranks among 2 people to do it.
I spent so much time on that solve. It was just so frustrating, and turns out I was doing it the hardest way.
In 24th place, Biggie. Well, fuck. In 23rd place, Zorflax. Australian. Well, fuck.
We should just spend the rest of that metric for the next hour going, oh yeah, we did it the stupid way, so we have no insight into this.
Seeing Shadow Cluster like counting how many grab instructions are in the tape loop, and I'm like, that's a reasonable proxy for efficiency. Would have been nice to think that.
That's a thought I wish I was having before the stream, but anyway. Alright. With that, I will move on. So that was 7th place. In equal 3rd place, we have the following players. We have Rebix, Random Guest, Cali Racist, and Fiesta Land. The tertiaries were also the same, so it is a true tie for third place. I will start.
Oh, come the fuck on. One instruction would have made it better.
Alright, so I will start with Fiesta Lands because they're the only one that wrote notes. I will nakedly favor people who write notes, by the way. This machine performs a simple 1/3 P algorithm. We experimented with 1/6 and 1/18 as well, but in both cases the conditionals added up to a higher instruction total. We also considered a longer arm. The instruction count seemed theoretically superior, but we could not find a working geometry. I'm not sure a working geometry exists for a longer arm. Would it or would it not because of channels?
Yeah, you want a length 2 arm to handle the input and a length 3 arm to handle the output, and the other would not work. At one point, I thought a length 3 arm could work on the input because there are 3 grabbable points at a length 3 arm channel apart, but they don't have cornerness to them, so you can't build the ring out of it.
Yeah, Rebek's already highlighted it. Channels kind of means that you can't do a longer arm in the first place at all.
What does channels mean again?
It's like 2D modular geometry where if you have a length 3 arm, then you take Critelli plus 3 in every direction and create that vector space. Only atoms on those points can move to those points.
Right.
So,
and it's just you would need an atom that was not on that point to be on that point, or vice versa.
yeah, so I guess one way of putting it is that, say you've got like a length 2 arm, input, output, input, and then bonder debonder. So you have this salt atom which can access this kind of part of the bonder. It can never access the other part of the bonder or debonder. Conversely, the salt atoms next to the grabbed one, this one and this one, will only ever be able to hit this bonder, this debonder. It will never be able to touch this hex or this hex. There is no way to pivot it or rotate it so that you can get it on both. This is a big problem when it comes to bonding and debonding on this puzzle, because you kind of need to get at least a couple of the atoms, if not all of them, on both hexes of a bonder / debonder. Oh, well, maybe not debonder, but definitely bonder, because of the weird, yeah, I know, because of the kind of geometry of how the ring is bonded together. I think I'm getting that right.
Yeah. I mean, the description of the channels makes sense though. Like, just where it is relative to the arm is invariant if you just have one arm and it's a certain length.
Yeah, because rotates and pivots are both on that grid.
Right.
And yeah, and the shape of the molecule actually doesn't matter when it comes to that channels thing. There just simply is no way to pivot it or rotate like one of the atoms in the wrong channel to get it on the right channel. So there's a bit of cost theory for all you people playing at home. It's good. It's good to know actually the channels thing. It kind of, if you're like on a cost puzzle and you're like, wait, will a length 2 / length 3 arm work here? That's a good time to bust out your channels knowledge and be like, oh wait, wrong channels. I can't use a length 2 arm or whatever.
Yeah. I guess one thing to note about this solution in particular is how cleanly the suppression works out. So it never has to do anything special to suppress the input. It's sort of just naturally suppressed, first by the first pair it moves, and then both the input and the output are sort of on the input at the right times, that it never has to do any extra work to suppress it.
It's really nice because it's like as soon as it's really nice because both molecules take turns suppressing the input kind of naturally so that it's never actually uncovered. Even just the two atoms at the start here, like, already just kind of block the input. So you never have to worry about it here with you. So that's just going to be there, and you just kind of shuffle that, or you can shuffle them around one at a time, because the resting position of both molecules is naturally blocking. So you can move any one of them around with complete impunity.
Mm-hmm. And in sort of my experiments into potentially more interesting ways of breaking it down, that's kind of where they tended to fail, is the input would spawn and then it would all be over.
Can we call the tied third method? Sure, why not?
Yeah, definite method vibes. What was the name of that puzzle? Lubricating solvents?
Lubricating solvents, yeah. But like in lubricating solvents, at least the arms, Tarkles, there we go. At least the Tarkles metric, there was a huge pileup, but then someone beat it.
So, I guess that's a perfect segue. Thank you, Biggie.
You're welcome. I'm here handing them out.
Actually, before I segue, I'll just like kind of show you everyone else's, give you, I don't know, see how everyone else programmed their layouts. It'll be the exact same thing, but I don't think there's any difference in programming. It says Caliuresis. Also, give you the solution titles a name, and this one has good Cratelli. I will not be accepting disagreements. And finally, Rebix, who in a rather coincidental accident titled their solution 79i.
Oh, no.
In equal first place at 79i, we have Wooch Push and Team Still Not a Jasper.
Congrats to all three.
Yeah, I don't think Kazian had much of a hand in this week, so I think it was pretty much all Halo Jasper. So we'll see if this one does it, and it's the exact same cycle count again, so it is a complete tie. So the trick here is actually to go away from the 2-2-2 method after all this time. You do the last two individually, and you save one instruction, which I can only assume means a pivot is saved by doing that.
I think it actually adds a pivot but saves 2 rotates.
Oh.
Right, because the pair would be in the wrong orientation, I think, right? That's the reason why it's better?
Yeah, they had to like overcorrect and then rotate back and grab and pivot twice. And I think
did.
you do the same 2 pivots, but you rotate less. You have to do 1 extra pivot to actually orient the output.
That is a very good point.
So basically, Team 42's solution was the third best.
It was, yes. Functionally, you guys came in third, but
So Genius 42's prediction that we would be top 3 is still okay. I get you. Thank you.
In a matter of speaking, you know. Yeah, 2-2-2 is method, but this is source. This is secret source, I guess. Just clip off the last 2 individually. That was the trick that you needed to figure out to get under 80 and win.
The extremely prestigious FGIC ring enlargement battle.
Also, congrats to Witch Push. I think this is their first win.
Yeah, I think so. I remember they also did very well on the pig metric for the tournament.
They did. They got
Yeah,
top
they were
5.
the 5th place, the first of the people to get a 4-eye solve or 4-period solve.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Jasper's first win, true.
Does Jasper
I think of Jasper was winning because of the Celestial Thread thing, but that wasn't really a tournament contest.
Right, because how Jasper usually places well in area, and to win an area, you have to beat Shadow Cluster.
Very true.
Because
I'm pretty sure I won at least one weekly.
I think you've won one before. Yeah, I think it was in the first weekly. I do remember you winning a week.
Or did I win 2 weeks? I forget. Yeah, it's like 2 years ago now.
I've won a
Fortnite
couple
passes.
weeklies despite being a host. I'd make like it'd be like, I remember that first year we did the weeklies, I was playtesting all the Sun puzzles a lot, and I came 0th place almost every time.
True. Some main who can't actually participate.
Sad. Alright, whoops, my bad. Oh wait, this is the other solution. Okay, so I don't think anything was different at all, whatsoever. No, this is not the other solution. Okay.
It's the same thing.
Okay, the bonder and debonder swapped. That was the difference. Also a spicy Critelli placement.
Oh. I think that's the most radical Critelli we've seen so far.
I think it's like an
Whoops,
exponent.
forgot
You got the
Critelli.
ring of radius 2 and the ring of radius 3, and then you can just imagine a ring of radius 1 centered on Critelli as the exponent.
That's a lackadaisical Critelli, if you ask me.
Random guest with the great insight of putting copy in the title is fantastic irony.
Yeah, it's not even on the triangle point. It's like not. It avoids any sort of adherence to like a pattern. It's just like just close to the ring.
It escapes all reason. It exists
Exactly.
simply because. Alright, we'll watch it output one more time, and then I think we can call that a metric and move on to area.
Yeah,
Yes.
congrats to Team Still Not a Jasper and for first place.
And we managed to finish the metric exactly 1 hour into looking at them.
Yeah, see if I can
Which
get
means
that.
the stream is perfectly on schedule, if I remember this correctly.
Was there a schedule? I don't know.
I thought the schedule was always 1 hour per metric.
I don't think it was a hard schedule. Actually, because Bist hosted the first year of the weekly streams, and I did the second year of the weekly streams, and my streams tended to be slower, but I kind of picked the pace up. I'm trying to pick the pace back up this year. Okay. There are a lot less area submissions, whereas cost was seen as a relatively approachable metric because the min cost was not that bad. Kind of the opposite for area. Area was not seen as very approachable at all.
I mean, rightly
To
so.
me, min area for this seems rather obvious. It's quite simply the minimum area it takes to rotate the big product.
There's
So
one thing I'm
what-
wondering about for area that might be the secret sauce, but I wasn't able to find it.
What are
I
people's
guess in
guesses
theory you
what
could
the
get away with less, but
minimum achievable
We'll see.
area is then for people who haven't seen the results.
Okay.
yeah, I'm thinking about it now and I can see how you could get away with less. Anyways, we'll see.
Okay, starting in 13th place. We have 7 T-Storm. The pivotless solution that only has 2 pistons. Okay, so I guess
just.
Hmm?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I guess with area, the first big question to ask is, can you get the input inside the output? Because that will be very important to your min area. Because if you can't get that input inside the output, then you are going to have to swing over a lot of hexes shuffling.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was just going to remark on the fact that there's no pivots. I feel like a lot of solvers took the approach of, let's see what we can do with no pivots, since it's like a funny metric. Sort of approaching it like a pivots primary, area secondary, rather than a area primary, pivot secondary.
Yeah, we were umming and ahhing about the metrics, I think, for area and also cost, but I think one of them was, do we do pivot primary or not? But I don't know. It kind of worked. I think it would have been the same either way, whether it was pivot primary or not.
Very much the same set of solutions.
Yeah, people just went, okay, I won't pivot then, and just area optimized anyway. Because this is actually a pretty good puzzle to avoid pivoting on, because of the way you break off the salts.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a large input and large output, so you get a lot of hexes to work with, which gives you a lot of hexes to not pivot stuff.
Indeed. Yeah, coming up with the metrics for this puzzle was kind of annoying. I don't know.
Well, the idea you had to start with was like number of unique molecules.
Oh yeah, well that was for rate. We were gonna do that as a secondary for rate, but rate was just bad. So then we were thinking of, I don't know. There were so many different metrics we were trying to do for this puzzle.
Rate secondary by the number of unique molecules is fascinating, and I would try that, but it would not be fun for most people.
Yeah, and it also constrains. I mean, I guess the FGIC ended up quite constrained anyway, but it constrains the form of your solutions a lot if you think about it a little bit. What the unique molecules restraint means for solutions generally.
Well, you're not going to break it down to single atoms, but you can't break it down to single atoms with unique molecules either. Yeah, right. I will not think too much out loud, but there's thoughts to be thought.
Yeah, it's a fun puzzle. What the minimum number of single molecules, because there is a unique solution for how to do the deconstruction and reconstruction.
Okay, we're gonna skip 12th and 11th because they're both cost solves, which brings us to 10th. Oh no, wait, we already did that one. So 9th place. Okay, I showed this one earlier. It was by Gemu with the solution Google en passant.
We didn't let it run though.
No, we didn't let it run. No, I saved that. So, alright, so I think if I remember correctly, all the other solves will get the input inside the output, which I think is just like a very important starting point, because that is how you will get the least area, which gives you 7 hexes in the middle to work with. And how you use those 7 hexes, I think, is very important. This one starts off with an interesting approach, which is just one arm in the middle, and then 2 debonders and a bonder, and then there's a second arm helping out. Because that one arm in the middle doesn't actually have that many access points.
Right.
Not with it.
And there's like certain motions it can't do, like moving side to side, unless that motion is like moving through the center.
I also appreciate how this solve basically ignores the secondary metric.
Right. Yeah. I mean, which makes sense. Like it is a secondary.
It is, yes.
Optimizing the primary is gonna help you if you can.
In the famous words of Spiritual Shampoo, imagine optimizing secondary, not an in primary.
Yes, that's true.
I like/hate how that's caught on.
It sounds mean, but it's also funny to me, and I don't know how much about each is showing.
It's a very Spiritual Shampoo thing to say. I know, it's just very it's good characterization, I guess. All right. The notes read, Wow. I've never thought an Opus Magnum puzzle could cause such immense pain. It's like swallowing 1,023 Moors at once. Seriously, panic why?
I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure it gets much worse than this.
Let's
I remember a certain cost puzzle where I decided to code something that was several thousand cycles long through all of them.
I think alchemical slag area is still the king of painful cycle counts.
Especially because I found a way to save 4 cycles by going 12p.
On this puzzle?
On alchemical slag, so the actual record is it's coded through to the end, all 22,622 cycles.
Oh, disgusting.
It took 3 seconds for my computer to let me press play.
Amazing.
Ew. Alright. In 8th
horrendous.
That is horrific. In 8th place, we take a 17 hex drop down to 73. We go down to random guest. No pivots.
Megamind meme. Hey, this isn't. Yeah, you're saying that all the other solves put the output and input, but nope.
I lied. Also,
just false.
Alright, you know.
Does this miss Critelli or is Critelli cover?
Nah, Critelli's oh! No, Critelli's not used.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy that the Critelli is good.
Good Critelli.
Yes, correct use of Critelli. Critelli means you didn't use this area. Critelli is not equilibrium.
Ah, I can't wait for people to start using Critelli as equilibrium.
It is not equilibrium. Stop using it as equilibrium.
Slag AI. Oh no. So, yes, as alluded to, this is actually, let me just leave that on. So, yeah, this is actually ring outside the, input outside the output, which I, didn't think we would see. So, actually, Random Guest in the notes puts, this solve is more pivots area cycles than area pivots cycles. 3 hexes inside small ring and 1 inside large ring are unused.
Yeah, this one has a particularly sort of simple decomposition where you have the 2 arm making pairs and then the 3 arms. It's basically a 2 arm and a 3 arm making the larger ring.
Yeah.
In groups of 6 from those pairs. Sort of a very similar motif as we saw in the cost solves, where you're breaking things down to 2 and then making pieces of 6 out of it.
This sort of most likely will stick around for quite a while on this Pareto frontier.
I can imagine.
It's very fast, and it's hard to go close to this fast at a better area.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least at a area that you would only be able to get with input inside output.
Yeah, I think the reason this beat the previous solve, I'm gonna guess, is that the small ring does a lot of swinging, and that does eat up like a few hexes, but the big one does never actually swing, so it's not that bad in area, despite the fact. So that kind of almost makes up for the small ring starting outside the big ring. It doesn't make up for it, but it does compensate for it. We will take our we will take our final huge drop though. So dropping down 24 hexes. We shoot straight down to 49 with Bambi.
Okay.
49. There's one extra.
I guess mine would come now.
What?
I guess mine would come now then.
Also,
because mine is at 50.
Okay, yours is at 50. Okay, no, we just went straight under 50. No one submitted a 50.
I mean, I would have.
Well, yeah. Alright. We'll probably go back to the 50 after I've shown all these area solves, because, it'll be a pain for my AHK. So we'll come back to it if that's okay. But we'll start at 49. Alright, and the solution title alludes to the fact that tertiary was not considered.
AQEDGAF. Don't give a fuck.
I'm looking at the solves to come, and 1500 cycles is not that bad, honestly.
That probably means that Team 42 has bad primary. We're fast, but I could think of what would go faster. Or not faster, but would go smaller.
It seems like there's a second 50 area solve that also hasn't been submitted on time.
Oh, was that,
Yeah, that's Brother Mojo in chat at least.
Oh, Brother Mojo.
Yeah,
That's not who
that's
that's
not
not who
what
I
it
thought
was,
you were
but-
gonna say. Brother Mojo's is not.
Oh, it's 49, okay.
I don't see a Brother Mojo area submission at all.
Yeah, I think they said they just didn't submit it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we got another late submission after Hutobi, actually, but it was by Rebix.
Ah.
But Rebix didn't submit an area solve either, so I thought it was Rebix.
Yeah,
Alright.
Rebix submitted a cost solve with, I think, a weird P
Well, okay.
as a showcase.
Ooh. So I guess it's alright. So now, so most of the area solves will look like something like this. So
Also, disgusting use of Fritelli.
is that
It is an equilibrium. 48 is how much the actual triangle layout takes, but Bambi has to pull an atom over Critelli at one point to make a bond on top.
Oof.
Yeah, so I think a few solves struggle with this hex, so I'm gonna try and see if I can spot it. Actually, I think I've already missed it.
I mean, it'll come up
no, it's
again.
there. No, it's there.
Right there.
Yeah, so it's to get the inside bond, basically. Because this is already fully formed, and it's kind of... Because it happens when the shape is already almost completely built, because it's a big ring. It is a fun fact. But that kind of, when you get to the point where it's mostly constructed, it's annoying to manipulate and avoid that problem. So that's actually a bit of a theme, I think, from the solutions that I've looked at.
I mean, that sounds like there are a lot of solutions that have a bonder in the middle. I guess I can thank Genius 42 that ours never had a bonder in the middle.
So I'm gonna go back to that. That was actually a cool finishing motion.
Where it goes around the triangle to grab everything.
Yeah, this is its final triangle bonding. Here it comes. Oh, we'll get there. There we go. That was a lot of clicking through for a kind of cool moment, but
It's the not a pivot of the week.
they're just
Right, yeah. Genius is calling out how pivot of the week for this metric just doesn't happen.
I'm just
Unless someone manages to pivot to get min primary.
Pivot of the week is just going to be dormant this week. There isn't a good pivot this week. So I think this motif of having 3 track in the middle is going to be common. Here Bambi's gone for 1 bonder, 1 debonder. I'm hearing people in chat talk about not having a bonder in the middle or whatever. You can do different things with the track. One thing I'm not sure we'll see at all, but it'll be cool if we do, is if like the arm is if the track instead of being a triangle is like a straight line, and you can have 2 bonds on opposite sides. But I don't think that's as convenient. But
Or
like,
you could just have only 1 glyph in the middle and 2 arms on a 5 track.
yeah, or you can just have more arms and more track. Like that's also an option. get your cycle count down.
Yeah, assuming you're using every interior hex, then 2 arms is, I think, the right way to do it.
Yeah, if it was AC, definitely that would be the play, I think. Alright, moving on to 6th place, we drop 1 hex to 48. And it is Team 42. And that is...
So we were the only 48 then. Everyone else who got down to 48 cut some hexes and then got lower.
Yeah, a couple of other people submitted 48. No, so one other person submitted a 48, but then they cut it.
Disgusting.
Yeah, my notes talk about how 47 and anything lower than that is like within reason, but I did not want to put effort in.
Very interesting track shape. What do you call it thing?
Yeah, this idea of what goes in the middle ring is all Genius 42. I just found a way to use as little outside of it as possible.
Yeah, this is crazy fast compared to what's coming. This is going to be the last 3-digit cycle solve.
You want to read the note?
Oh, of course. Sorry. A team effort. Genius had the first area optimized solution, which used only 1 arm and 51 area, but showed a way of approaching the puzzle with debonder and track loop inside the small ring, inside the big ring. He also showed that pivots were completely unnecessary. From there, I switched to this triangle layout for 48, added a second arm, and made it speedy. Only way I could see going lower area is by somehow saving an internal hex. But as far as I can see, they are all necessary for either debonding or for access. I am possibly not creative enough. You definitely can't lower the pivot count beyond 0. Citation needed. And the cycle count is decent. If this is a cycles puzzle at 48 area, no pivots, I would hope we did well. If it actually is about avoiding interior hexes, well then I await the wizardry. It is neither. I haven't seen the very top solutions, but I do know that you can get under 48 without doing either. So all the solves I've seen so far have had like 3 sides outside the ring being covered. I think the other solves are going to try and focus on just keeping it to 2. And trying to keep, like, for example, just, like, here. And then use maybe a couple of extra hexes here or something. I'm not saying all the solves will do that, but...
I agree with Hello Jasper in chat. Like, that was something I ruled out as impossible because the piece that you need to place before you do the last bond is too big to get there. Although maybe they have that, like, extra atoms sticking off top and bottom and there's a bonder in the middle.
Alright. Well, out of curiosity, let's move on beyond 48. In 5th place at 47 is Ebenov.
Ah, this one does avoid Critelli. This is an internal hex shave.
Okay, so this actually is an internal hex shave. The notes read, feeling some confidence on outside area, but not much confidence on if 2 or more hexes hole in the center is possible. In the end, 1 hole in the center is much more annoying than hard. Pivot secondary worked great for me at getting me to do secondary optimization. There are plenty of inefficiencies lying around, and I wouldn't have bothered unless the metric points at a few things and goes, can you specifically do something about this? I think people liked the pivot secondary as much as it was not that hard to get it to 0. It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, good. That was a Zorflex decision. The pivots were Zorflex idea, so good job.
The 2 tiles of the debonder and the track and the Critelli are a beautiful smiley.
It's a fantastic smiley. And good Critelli. I'll give it, it's a good candidate for Critelli of the week, if you ask me. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, no, with the pivots idea, I just remember back to when we did Philosopher's Catalyst and how like, I expected a lot of people to hate that puzzle because no pivots, but then people liked the puzzle because no pivots. So I'm like, why
it's
not?
almost like that's unique and interesting and new.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, if it works, let's just try that. And like, that's a cool secondary for area because pivots are usually important tech for area.
Right. Well, it's
Except
like
when it's a puzzle like this where they're just not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the note said where it's like, here's a thing that you have a few of, figure out a way to get rid of them.
Yeah, which I think is alluded to in Ebadov's notes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's
Oh, right.
So yeah, maybe we'll see more of that kind of thing in the future.
Well, like I think Kevlin raises a good point. Pivot secondary works because it's kind of easy to not pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps the focus on area a bit more.
Well, and you can build your area solve first, and then go through and try and get rid of all the pivots.
Yeah, as opposed to making a no pivot solve and then trying to keep it low area. I think that's a lot harder of an approach. Like that's a harder way to look at it.
Right.
I mean, the way I was doing it, and probably would do it again, is I'm like, right, so this is the area, then I'm going to find the layout, figure out what area that is, then build the layout, and then code the layout whilst already just not doing pivots.
Right.
Like, I just didn't even consider doing a pivot while doing the instructions.
Area solve VI secondary. Good lord. On this puzzle, that would be so arse. No tracks, no extension, retraction, or pivots. On this puzzle sounds absolutely woeful.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be it would like people would end up with some, but it would be annoying to minimize it.
That just kind of sounds annoying to optimize. Like, how do you even optimize that? That's just like, you need to extend, retract, and move on track so much. Anyway, we will move.
Yeah, just end up being an instructions secondary a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. In fourth place, at 46 area, we have Team Still Not a Jasper. The solution tile is pivotless AC, but my AHK is telling me there are 3 pivots.
See if we can spot them.
It's like a Where's Waldo?
It's 3 pivots, so it's 1 pivot per 2 outputs. So if it's a 2-piece script, there is 1 pivot in the instruction tray.
Oh god. Oh no. Just like scanning for the pivot. It's not actually important. It wouldn't have affected placement.
I mean, I guess we found the pivot of the week then.
Pivot of the week is somewhere in this.
6,000 cycles though.
Yeah, it's like 6,000. So there is. It could take me a long time. I don't think.
It's one of these 1,000 instructions for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm.
2,000 even.
2,000. Yeah, that's yeah. I'm not gonna spend 15 minutes looking for the one pivot. Rest assured, pivot of the week is somewhere in that instruction tray. No notes
so
again.
Is it necessary to break down into 2s entirely in order to be able to avoid those 2 internal hexes?
I think the fact that they're breaking it down so much has a lot to do with just storage, because it's just the smaller the molecule, the easier it is to store. That's the logic that I'm going to guess was employed here.
Well, I'm going to be happy with the uniqueness in this metric as well of my solution, in that it was fast.
Oh no, hello Jasper. Yeah, they are all completely useless OM clone accidents. It might very well be pivoting air. Oh no.
Nice meme.
Pivot of the Wake is a completely useless pivot. There you go. That's why I'm not going to find it, because it's probably at the end of this instruction tape. So avoiding 2 hexes of internal area. That sounds... That's a good area optimization strategy. I guess the next question is where to from here in terms of hex shaving, because I don't think you're going to get a 3rd hex of area internalized, are you?
Hello Jasper says, I tried saving a 3rd internal hex, but it barely didn't work out.
Oh, okay, so maybe it's on. Oh, apparently this solver is all Kazian. Oh. Yeah, a lot of this puzzle from area, and I think the reason we didn't get nearly as many submissions was because there is a lot of shuffling when you're area optimizing this. Like, yeah, you get a lot of room to work with, but you have all these salt atoms to shuffle around and try to not collide with. Because part of the reason the pivots don't really matter is because it's just so much shuffling.
Mm-hmm.
And then it finally outputs. Okay. Moving on to our top 3. In 3rd place, still at 46 hexes, but with actually 0 pivots and a lot fewer cycles, it is Gecko.
So apparently Brother Mojo was in between Jasper and, or still not a Jasper and Gecko, with 46 0 pivots and somewhere in the middle cycles.
Yeah, okay, I'm guessing it would have come down to cycles.
Yeah, or maybe 2 pivots. You never know.
Oh, true, I made a very basic assumption. I could be completely incorrect.
Oh yeah, 2, 7, and 9 cycles. Okay. This solution was made possible by OM Clone.
Actually, the area metric was, I think, a good advertisement for OM Clone, as much as I don't use it, because, yeah, it just makes all this shuffling and thousands of cycles of needing to do stuff a lot more approachable than the base game does. I don't think... there isn't a good way to argue against that.
I put a link in chat if anyone's interested in what we're talking about. Who somehow doesn't know.
This does make the problem of atom storage look a lot easier than the other solve did, which was just shuffling things around like an absolute madman. I will say that much.
Yeah, this one manages to bond them together with less effort so that you're starting to manipulate structures instead of just pairs and singlets, which is so much work.
Yeah, it seems like the pattern of breaking it down into 4s where you have a straight stick of 4 and then you have like an L and a J works pretty well for organizing things.
LJ in the long bar?
Yeah. Is that the Tetris names?
Yes.
Nice.
Long boy. Alright. Moving on to second place at 45 hexes. Fiesta Land. And well, hey, only 2 sides used now.
The bonder in the middle is the way you get away with only putting 2 extra pieces out. And then you have to save an internal hex to break 46 anyway.
So, the funny Metroid shape, I think, kind of belies why that internal bonder is important. Because it was the same problem that... Oh, what was the solve that had it? It was a much earlier solve. It was like...
Was it Bambi's solve?
Yeah, it was Bambi's solve. Where there was like this extra Krytelli clipped because of the large shape. So this will do that, but with 2 hexes. But it saves because it doesn't need to do 3 sides.
Yeah, my issue when Genius was talking about whether 44 was possible and we were assuming the center was filled was that there is a contiguous block of 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 atoms that you need to create and put in that location to be able to finish the bonds. And if you were creating that using only bonders along the, in this solve, bottom and left bottom edges of the thing, you can't move it into position. But if you have a bonder in the middle, you can do it at the cost of only 2 x's, which is 2 fewer than an entire extra edge of the molecule.
Okay, so I'll read the notes for this one. The first iteration of this strategy used a triangle track in the center at 46 area. With 2 arms on it, the machine set a cracking pace of 1500 cycles. But we were troubled, because while finding the 46 area layout was not trivial for us, programming 0 pivots on it was. Cutting out a donut hole for 45 changed the equation. With 1/6 of the area now inaccessible, programming difficulties ramped up hard. We are quite proud to have iterated back down to 0 pivots. High cycle count notwithstanding. If 43 or 44 are possible, they will need to use quite different strategies. We'd be surprised and fascinated to see them.
So saving 2 internal hexes gives you, or saving 2 internal hexes but using 3 sides of the product gives you a 46. Doing it this way in particular gives you a 45. And then Spiritual Shampoo mentioned in chat that Shadow Cluster used 3 sides. So Shadow Cluster must have used, or saved 3 internal hexes and just come out faster.
Yeah, so the winning solve did not win on primary. I'll just mention that now. It did win on tertiary. So the only reason this is second place, not first place, was the cycle count in the end.
It's really cool that not only did they do the thing that 46 in my mind was like the limit of, where you put a bonder in the middle and use it, but they actually managed to do it with an arm on 2 track.
Yeah, I really like this solve. I don't know, this is probably...
You add up the area taken by the bonder and the 2 extra equilibriums, you could line 1 more edge of the product with that area.
Essentially,
so 45 in both ways.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this was a difficult puzzle, but it did have interesting area theory. I think we always knew it was going to have interesting area theory, because it's just such a weird input and output combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool to see this solve in second place. The fact that you can get no pivots with just an arm on a track like that, very cool.
I was happy to see this because I did try to do a submission of my own. I didn't end up having the time for it, but what I was doing, I was pretty much hard focusing on trying to do this 2 sides idea as opposed to 3 sides. So I'm glad this exists and works.
You couldn't save another hex because making the last bonds for the output is actually too restrictive with the number of atoms on board. Like every single space was filled when they did that last bond on the 2 parts. So I think that means that you could not save another internal hex to bring this to 44, and it's just a secondary user. I guess tertiaries race at 45.
I guess, yeah. I'm happy to declare 45 practical, man. Alright, we'll watch it do one more output and then we'll move on. Alright. In first place, making their debut as a team with a roaring area victory of about 1,100 cycles, is Team Shadowpoo. And yes, it is three.
2 arms? No, it's just 1 arm. They have track equilibriums because memes.
Okay, so let's have a look at the notes here. I think this was written by Shadow Cluster. I could be wrong though. AC with pivots deleted was annoying, but it could have been more annoying for any other product due to the lack of variety on bond direction, or the fact the arm is in the middle for greater coverage. The lack of calcifiers is saddening. I agree. I wanted calcifiers for this puzzle, but
I vetoed it. I don't know. It
was your decision. Yeah, no.
It was just like, the shape is already funny. You don't need more more funny things.
The funny, expensive equilibrium.
Isn't this funnier? The track equilibrium.
It is funny, but I don't know. I guess I'm just a calcifier enjoyer.
I can see it.
I could also, like, I don't know, like, in the entire base game, calcifier is just always on for every puzzle, even if it's not necessary at all. So I guess it's just, like, a habit of mine is just leave calcifier in no matter what. But anyway.
Yeah, I think just looking at it in the puzzle overview is, like, it's not the minimum possible glyphs it can be.
Oh, right.
But yeah.
It's that feng shui idea.
Exactly.
Okay. Bonders are no or uno reach. I think it means no access or half access. Debonder is full access. Ones are kept for bonding atomic groups together after extensive juggling. I expect some other people to land on this footprint. As the concession...
Wrong.
As the concessions in other layouts naturally land on this structure. Whether or not they can juggle is up to enumeration. Otherwise, it is +1, +2, +3 from supposed min for them holes. Otherwise, there are several parts of the solve that contain inefficiencies I don't have the time to wind down, which is why I do expect to lose in tertiaries. Pivots here are easy to avoid after all. So basically all of Shadow Cluster's predictions were wrong. He won on tertiaries and no one else found this layout.
The bonders do seem ridiculously complicated to make use of here.
I mean, one's and very annoying bonder placement. Yeah. I'm not surprised no one else found this because of how intense the bonding is.
And the, like, single atom juggling, although I'm not sure if it's all of it is necessary, but...
Well, there are 3 bonders, which is 6 hexes of bonding, and you only get access to one of those hexes.
Yeah, there's 2 track access on this piston and no bonder in the bottom.
No.
Yeah, the actual pieces that it bonds, I was surprised to see that the bonder is centered in the edge instead of put up against the corner, but that just means that there's an L shape which doesn't matter for when you're repositioning things because it is not the one that's sticking out the most. The corner is the one sticking out the most. If you have one extra atom past it, that isn't a problem at all. Just looking at, like, for right now, say the piece that's on the right edge of the output glyph and has just been rotated to be there again, like, the last atom connected to it is in the middle of an edge rather than at the corner. And that's fine because it doesn't stick out the most. It's just kind of like a totally different build paradigm that I didn't ever think of.
No, yeah. I'm surprised there are people in chat going, yeah, this made sense to me. I thought Fiestas made way more sense than this. Like, I would not have thought of this. I don't know. It just didn't seem natural to me to just ham-fist yourself on Bonders so much. But I'm not an area main unless it's week 0 of a tournament. So this is not week 0 of a tournament. So I wouldn't know.
Well, congrats to Shadow Poo for first place.
There was a lot of talking about what the team name was going to be for the Spiritual Shampoo Shadow Clustered mashup, but I think they've optimized their team name.
Mm-hmm.
They've achieved min primary in the mashup metric. Okay. And with that, I will go and download our week 4 puzzle, which I am excited about because I really like the week 4 puzzle.
Yeah, this one is much more of a high effort design rather than the shitpost the current week kind of was.
All right.
I am here for the reveal.
Oh, Bisk, do you want to activate the puzzle?
Sure, I can. I don't have it open though. You do it.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm just gonna activate it right now.
Beat solvers, start your engines.
Oh, they are started.
All right, public. There it is. I forgot how to do it. Okay, I think it's accepting now. Yep, it's live. So the puzzle is black powder.
I'm pretty sure we are a week late to making fireworks, aren't we?
To what?
I guess
Yeah, we-
American joke you wouldn't understand.
There's like only one American in the weekly chat.
You know what's even funnier? I'm not from America either. I just happen to know.
No, it's...
Yeah, because Americans are everywhere.
Yeah, Americans are absolutely everywhere. So... I guess I should...
How's the puzzle?
I guess I should talk about the metrics. So... The metrics... So the first metric is... cycles times the number of regents. So if you want to use... So a solve with one regent will score at half the cycle count of a solve with both regents. And it doesn't matter which regent. Either one.
Or you can use both.
Or you can use both.
Yeah.
Let me just remind myself. The secondary is area, and the tertiary is cost. The other regent...
Yes, there's Burlo.
The other reagent is, yes.
The other metric is area cycles cost. Have fun with area. I am looking forward to seeing what you come up with for area.
Is this a puzzle where you get... No, you don't get every glyph.
Nah, just there's a lot of glyphs,
you don't get the
but not
metal
all.
ones.
Yeah, you don't get the metal ones, and you don't get quintessence.
What is that
Oh yeah.
orange-looking thing up there? Is that part of this puzzle?
Nope.
No, that's just the mod.
That's an Infinifactory Bonder. No, you don't
Oh
get
yeah,
that.
Finifactory.
You also don't get the two G tracks. Sorry. And you don't get the fucking eviscerators. This feng shui is not working. I gotta come up with something else.
Isn't there literally a preview image?
There is. I don't know. I don't know why, but I work these out live on the stream.
This is looking better already. I gotta say.
Alright, speed salt sent.
Speed salt
was
is already
quick.
sent. We're not even. I haven't even finished my feng shui biggie.
I mean, to be fair, this is an incredibly easy puzzle to speed solve.
That's a
You
good
literally take the one reagent, take the other reagent, and, like, do 2 bonds.
Yep. That does seem to be what has been done here.
I'm just gonna forget. Yeah, there we go. No bonders. Sorry. I'll figure it out off stream.
There's literally a preview image
Sigh.
on the website.
Sigh. Bonkles, but you have to use 0 bonders. Yes.
Oh boy. Anyways, this is the puzzle. Hope y'all enjoy the metrics.
Yeah, no,
This is
Oh, you go.
it's a calculated puzzle. I can say that much.
Yeah, this one was a joint effort by Bist, me, and we also think Haxton.
We think Haxton was part of it, maybe.
Somewhere
I'm
in
pretty sure it had something to do with it.
Anyways, just here for the reveal. Y'all enjoy the puzzle. I'll be heading off now, so see y'all.
See you, Bist.
Yeah.
Alright. Let me leave it on that screen while I get the showcases sorted out. Now I'm gonna have to re-download the... Oh yeah, we've got a Brother Mojo submission as well. Good.
Alright. Since I didn't free eye this week, it's gonna be time to see how long it takes me to free eye the next week.
It'd be a little bit easier, hopefully.
Yeah, it's surprisingly, it looks very... Which is disappointing because I was kind of hoping for something more difficult to free eye. Because, like, this
Like
one is
Nightmare
also
Fuel?
easy to free eye, which is why I didn't do it.
Week 4 last Weeklies was Nightmare Fuel, just comparing.
Yeah, the weeklies I missed, and then decided to free eye 2 of the puzzles because I missed them. And they were interesting to free eye. And then both of them got beaten by solutions that actually loop, which I thought to be impossible, at least for the first one.
Oh yeah, those are
Romney is a powerful person.
Yes.
the original instruction main came back to mark his territory. Nah, it's good to see Rolami solving stuff again. Literally everything that guy makes is awesome. Alright. Showcase time. So we'll start with Brother Mojo's attempt at an area solve. Just because it's the first one on my list. Alright, so this is a 46 area. He mentions probably not min, and yeah, it ended up being beaten by 1. Similar idea to the winning solve, though, surprisingly, just with a 3rd hex used in the middle. Yeah, because I think basically what Shadow Poo did instead was like that, and just not use that hex, and not have access to this hex for the track, so...
And
that
then
means
require
you don't...
different bonders to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the same layout as Still Not a Jasper had, or not the same, but similar. At least in the middle, I think. But yeah, a lot of the same sort of area shuffling that we saw. I'll let it do. There we go. I think next up we'll do the other area solve, which was submitted by Hutobi. This one coming at 50 area. That's just a pretty good Critelli. I like that Critelli.
Oh, I see that you had an unfortunate swing that was going to use some extra X's because you're building it 5 pieces together.
Yeah,
so
that's...
I literally started this area with the assumption of, right, I'm gonna turn the entire thing. Like, the starting assumption for this area solve was I'm going to turn the product.
Well, then you've managed to cut quite a lot from that point.
But yeah, I think I remember you talking
No,
about...
it actually takes 50 area to turn the entire finished product.
Yeah, but it's a different 50 area, isn't it?
No, it's this.
We didn't get a 50 area in the submissions. This is the only 50 area solve. So yeah. So I guess the point you made earlier about you thinking this was like a natural point for area, I think it's this minus those bottom 2 hexes that ended up being the natural point for a lot of other people.
Yes.
Because yeah, you just take out that one unfortunate swing and then you're all like, okay, this is where you have to try and cut hexes out of the middle. Or you can do what Fiesta Lane did.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this makes much use of those 2 bottom hexes because, again, I assumed that rotating the thing was necessary for some reason. I don't know why. It's a rather simple assumption with area because usually it ends up being true. Usually you have to rotate the final thing.
But no, I think because a lot of people just like, I don't know, kept managing to chop down their regents, just kind of chop them up into 2 atom pieces, like, and just have them cleverly stored all around, and I don't know, have their swings go over bonders and stuff. I think, because there were other swings, like there was a lot of swinging happening, but I think like all the swings were all up here. I think.
Yeah.
It really just interesting how many different things people will consider natural that are different from what other people thought of.
Yeah, but I mean, there are things that I do that I think are natural that literally every other player goes, what the hell was that assumption?
It's one of the beauties of just being an independent mind in this community. You just are different than everyone else sometimes.
No, it's good, yeah. It's good to see what people think are, like, natural points and going, that is not where my brain went at all. That's actually one of the nice parts about doing these streams and Opus Magnum in general.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you had to see my natural area assumption of there's a big product, I probably need to turn it. Which, well,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure a bunch of area puzzles is actually true.
As Calirisa says, everyone is unique unless it's FGI. I was just thinking that's kind of what's disappointing when you do get situations like that where there's sort of a convergence.
I've never minded the convergence personally. It happens. I don't know if it's happened a few other times in tournaments. Like, I was part of a convergence once when we did Tarkles for lubricating solvents, and I was part of the big 5-6 submission pile up of the RG basically. And
Yeah.
I liked the pile ups. I'm like, for once, it was like, oh, other people actually found my idea, and like. It was kind of validating to be like, okay, so our brains did go in the same direction for once. This was a good idea.
Uh-huh.
And then Haxton...
Yeah, maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was once I think it was gold area cycles, where was it I either tied for first place or tied for another placement with a solution that was exactly the same as mine.
Oh, didn't you tie with like Ebenov for first on? It was like Ferris wheel cost, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Ferris
Yeah,
wheel.
that was the one you won. Yeah, now I remember.
I'm pretty sure I also won one just clean.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, I also, among other things, I also achieved is I found min primaries.
I think the Horn Silverman primary was awesome. I was trying to goad people in the Discord into looking for it, knowing full well you already had one. Because if I told them, oh, Hugh Toby's already found it, I knew they weren't going to go for it, but I was trying to goad them into trying to do the same thing.
You were trying to spawn a better one, is what you were doing.
I was just trying to be like, oh, actually, I think 3 eyes possible on Horn Silver. Interesting. Because I literally watched you make it, so I knew it was possible, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, right, so... Then I was like, right, so let's look at the other ones, and it turns out there were 2 more where 3 was possible. And I made 2 solutions that both used, what is it? Purification as disposal, which then both got beaten by solutions that, just looped.
Okay, so
Martial Regulus and, Nightmare Fuel.
That's it. Okay, so this is simply titled Incomprehensible by Rebix. There are no notes. So I'm guessing this is going to be like a weird P for min cost.
Yeah.
So the showcase one does not have the P count, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The parser.
All I saw was a bunch of weird conditional logic when I looked at it in the clone preview.
So there are 3 atoms for...
I think this is 1/6 P.
So it's 3 atoms per loop.
Yeah, it manages to peel the output or peel the input by 3 atoms in 2 different ways, but it's always doing it once per loop.
Yeah, we never saw 1/6 P. I mean, I guess it just means it was not very convenient. But, I mean, 2 atom anything is usually more convenient than 3 atom anything, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess this one is doing the conditionals on the input mostly.
Yeah, a lot of input conditionals because it's... Yeah, and it's a weird spot for... Because it's happy to just leave the input in a weird spot at the end of the loop and just grab it conditionally later.
Yeah, but it seems less awkward than doing stuff conditionally with the output, which I think the 1/9 P solves had to do.
I don't actually have the instruction count on this solve. I don't have any metrics because apparently, because Rebix never actually took it to validation before submitting it, so that's why there aren't any metrics being shown on screen.
Yeah, this works. It just doesn't actually. So if you alt-click on the first instruction twice and just take the diff and the cycle count, we can get the instruction count.
Yeah, we can do that.
So it seems like it just passed.
So, 82.
Oh, that's only 2 worse than the actual 1/3P.
Gee, that was
Rebix did
competitive.
submit. Huh. That beats the 1/9 and 221 memes.
It almost matches 1/3 P. Wow, that was a lot lower than I expected. I didn't realize how fast it was cycling through the instruction tray. Yeah, damn. Okay, so 1/6 P was worth a shout. It just didn't win, but still.
Now I will accept that that Team 42 didn't get the best 3.
Yeah, this is definitely cool. It's kind of a shame because it feels like there was a lot of cool approaches to this puzzle, but they just didn't really work for whatever.
But they just weren't optimal. Like, there's a lot of cool ideas, but like the 1/3 P was both the easiest to find and the best anyway.
Yeah.
Which makes the solution pool look more homogenized than it actually like could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is it's unfortunate. I don't think you can design around that. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah. Probably, I don't know.
When your metrics a proxy for elegance, it will in fact scale with elegance.
Fair point. There is that, yeah, because I mean, Hitobi was talking about that time we did AI in the weeklies, and yeah, and I think it applies here as well, and in GI in general, that, you know, the lowest P does not always equal the best solution, because at some point you are just inundating yourself with too many conditionals.
Yes. Like I did with that area, sort of. Where I'm pretty sure half the things it was doing was conditionals.
Yeah, I wonder at this puzzle, but waste being allowed, what that would look like, having seen all these wasteless approaches.
I'm not sure. I think the fact that there was a forced layout made it harder to make things work.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. All right, we'll move on. Next is a submission by Genius42. So no rotate and fairly low instructions. The notes read, just some practice at flattening and unflattening rings. No arm rotates and some conditional instructions to lower instruction count. Nothing to do with the metrics. So this is a lot like what Transcendental guy made, actually.
Yeah, I think when Transcendental Guy's solution was on screen, Genius said, "Oh, this is like my showcase, except it has more instructions in my showcase version."
But yeah, same thing. Conditional logic, it just always does one atom at a time. Easy to program. Get you. I don't know. It's just nice to just program out like a speed solve or something. Just easy to program to just get a feel for what actually solving the puzzle is like before tackling metrics. I always found that helpful. I don't know, because I know other players are more like exact with their methods, less kind of loose intuition like I am. Alright. Appreciate the submission, Genius42. Next up in our showcase is a min instruction solve by Spiritual Shampoo, claiming to be an instruction main. I mean, I've seen him do cycle solves, so I think the jury's still out on that. But, nevertheless, it cannot be denied he's good in instructions.
I'm pretty sure I'm a cursed instructions main.
I think.
Did you say
so
cost or cursed?
Cursed.
Cursed.
Because I make all the cursed instruction solves, or most of them at least.
It's really cool how you can see the ratio at work here, where it picks up 3 inputs with a hex arm, and then they sort of get transformed into 2 pre-products, and then both of them get transformed into the 2 products.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is actually aesthetically appealing, which is not something I expected at 3i for this puzzle.
Yeah.
This is basically what I was probably thinking about making as well. Yeah. Though, I'm pretty sure IG of this makes waste.
Yeah.
I wonder if IC actually also makes waste. I wonder if it's actually faster.
This is pretty fast in terms of how much work there has to be done. It's doing a lot of it in parallel, but you might be right that it just gets a shorter loop if it doesn't have to worry about going back for the second output.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I wonder if for Spiritual Shampoo, because I know how good he is at cycles, but he obviously feels like an instruction main. I wonder if it's like one of those, like if he actually is just good as cycles because he enjoys cycles, or if it's like an incidental thing. Because I have that thing happening with cost. I seem to be inexplicably good when cost comes up in like a tournament or competitive setting, but I don't feel like a cost main at all. I just it happens to be something I do pretty well at. So I wonder if it's like that with him in cycles. Or like Fiesta seems to always do well when area pops up. I don't think Fiesta is an area main though. So yeah. Just metrics you're just incidentally good at without actually feeling particularly strongly about them. Alright. We have one more showcase, and it is Username Void's Speed Solve.
This is going to be the most impressive one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I remember to tag my black powder speed solve as a speed solve this time, but the speed solve I submitted for this puzzle was not tagged as a showcase.
Yeah. I think you still won the speed solve contest though, Biggie. Pretty comfortably. I haven't actually checked the submission page though.
If you want, you can actually load that up. Is that possible? Because it'd be cool to compare the speed solves. Mine took a very different approach to this. There's so much less track, and it actually runs on a pretty fast loop.
Okay, I'll boot it up real quick just to cap off the stream.
I think this is the first wasteful solve we've seen.
Yeah, actually it has. Yeah.
Stadia, I should have made Wasteful free while the stream was going.
Is there anything you want to know about the solve to make it easier to find?
What's the title? Oh wait, there it is. Is it New Solution 1?
Solution 1.
Alright, I gotcha.
That is new speed solve title right there.
This is what peak performance looks like. Actually, that's a pretty cool speed solve. Yeah, I like the waist chain.
That is quite slick.
I can see why you won.
This was like a 4-minute solve, but it was very quick to come together, and I was happy that it was so kind of elegant in that way.
Actually, Re-Enlargement would have made for a pretty good speed solve puzzle. Just looking at this.
I don't really... the waist does not bring aesthetic joy, even though it is easy to make in a speed solve.
Yeah. When we were choosing metrics for this puzzle, we were definitely trying to avoid waste.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like, yeah, cost with waste seems cursed.
Or like TI. Can you imagine TI for this puzzle?
Yeah, that'd be a waist chain metric.
I floated up TI for this puzzle a couple times, but yeah, it would have been weird and waist chain-ish, so... Was not
TI sounds like one of those puzzles where it's just like a wiggling chain that gets things done to it.
Maybe if we did forced finite area on TI, maybe there's something there.
Finite area at inf or finite area at v?
At inf.
Finite area at V is just a fun set of words.
Yes. I mean, it is finite if it crashes, what I'm talking about. Because the area stops growing, but it still wins.
Yeah, we had to make that adjustment to the rules where it has to keep going forever for the cost.
Finite area at V gives me... That sign can't stop me because I can't read vibes.
Yeah.
All right. I think that'll do for this week. It's all our showcases.
I wasn't even thinking about the fact that area at V is always finite. I was thinking about the fact that you can make a puzzle that makes it to the completion screen that has finite area, even if it makes waste.
It's
if
finite,
it just stops.
alright? It just won't stay that way if you're on it forever, but...
No, you can also make it like conditionally just stop.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen like Mr. Puzzle do that sometimes. I think Using Void does as well, where they just like have it so that something's blocking the region after validation so that it never grabs anything again, despite making a waste chain, which would be finite at inf. But it ends up.
Yes.
But yeah, I think for us, the instruction secondary is kind of like a natural safeguard against that idea.
Well, we also added an explicit safeguard
I
against.
mean, you can
Yeah, you specifically made sure.
add two.
Yeah, but we had to make
instructions.
sure about it.
Yeah, it
You
would
can-
have been
you can add-
interesting to see if someone came up with a solution that would have exploited that if we hadn't left it in. Because yeah, you do have to use a little bit of extra instructions to make sure that happens.
I mean, it's just two instructions. It's literally just grab, and then move something.
Right,
Like,
but if
like
you're
literally,
doing something that's less than 6p, then you have to do that conditionally. Like you somehow have to count to 6 and then stop.
you can literally just slide it back on the instruction tape until it's done. Make it its own arm.
Well, then it's not min cost.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I'm not sure whether it would have mattered or not. It would have been interesting to see.
All right. We'll call that there. That was a bit more brisk than usual, but I don't mind the faster pace. I was trying to specifically make sure I wasn't keeping the streams going for too long this year. But yeah, that was Ring Enlargement. I do hope you'll join us next week for Black Powder. We're excited to see what you all come up with. I think that's one of the puzzles we've been really looking forward to seeing what people do. So hope to see some good ass submissions for that one. And yeah, I think that's it from me. We'll catch you all next week.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yeah, thank you for submitting to my funny puzzle. See ya.